Hi and welcome to another video, part of this series where we're building an e-commerce website with Django and React. If you'd like to follow along, you'll just need to clone or download the Django React e-commerce GitHub project. The link is in the description of this video. And once you have this, we can get started. So in this one, if we go to the profile, we have this payment history button that we've added. And what we want to do is add a list of the transactions that this user has made. So basically just a purchase history view where the user can see the order ID and everything about it. So we're going to need a payment API view. If we come back here into the core and go to API and then views, we can go all the way down to the bottom and we can create a payment list view, which is just going to inherit from the list API view. Then if we come up to the top, we have the payment model imported, but we don't have a serializer for it. So if we go into serializers and go all the way to the top, then we can make sure that we import it there as well. And we can basically just copy one of these, come here to the bottom, and we'll just call it the payment serializer, where the model is the payment. Then if we take a look at the actual models, we have Stripe charge ID, user, amount, and timestamp. So we can basically just bring them all in here. We won't show them the Stripe charge ID and we won't show them the user. So it's basically just going to be the amount and the timestamp. So just like that. We can bring this payment serializer into the views. So we'll just import it here with the rest of them. So just like this. We can then use the payment serializer in our payment list view. So specify it like that. We'll specify is authenticated as the permissions class. And then for the query set, we're going to want to overwrite this. So we're going to say get query set. It's going to take in self. And here we want to basically filter it for the request user. So just to keep it simple, we'll just say return payment.objects.filter where user equals self.request.user, like that. Then we can bring the payment list view here into the URLs. So we'll just import it there. We can then add another URL here. And this is going to be to payments. It'll use the payment list view and we can call this payment list. Okay, then we can go into source, into our constants, and we can add another URL here, which is going to be the payment list URL, which is just going to go to /payments. And like this, we can bring that into, and we can close most of these. We can go into source, containers, into profile. And if we just scroll down a little bit, here where we have payment history, the header updates depending on the active item, which right now is only dependent on the billing address or shipping address being selected. So what I'm going to do is add a method here, and we'll actually just make sure we import that URL first. So just over there. We'll add a method and call this handle get active item. And it's just going to be an anonymous function, which is going to get the active item from the state. So we'll say constant active item equals this.state. Then if we just take a look at, let's say this one here, then what we want to do is say if active item equals to billing address, then we'll say return billing address. Okay. Else if, and it's going to be active item equals to shipping address, then we're going to return shipping address, and else we will return payment history. Okay, so then here we can use that instead of this down here. So we can basically just call inside the curly braces this dot handle get active item. Okay. If we take a look at this and go to profile, there's billing address, shipping address, payment history. Okay. Then instead of rendering this card group all the time, what we want to do is cut out everything from the card group all the way down to the selected address, cut all of that out, and we're going to add a special render method here. We'll call it render addresses, and it's just going to be like this. Paste all of that there, and actually we'll add return and then wrap all of that in there, but then we need to wrap all of this in a React fragment. So we'll cut all of that out, put that there. Okay, so render addresses like that. Then if we come over here, we can say if the active item equals to payment history, then we're going to render out something here. So payment history, and otherwise this dot render addresses like that. Now render addresses takes in addresses like that, and all of these are now no longer being used. So we need to grab all of that, come inside here and paste that there, and we can get rid of it from there and get rid of it from there. Cool, so now everything's where it needs to be. So if we go to profile, payment history has payment history there, shipping address has the shipping address, billing address has the billing address. So that's working. Now if we just go here to where the payment history will be rendered out, what we're going to do is basically just display a table there. So we can come here, search for table, and I'm just going to look at this first one here. Then we can just copy all of that. We can remove that and paste it there. I'm going to get rid of the table footer though, so we can get rid of all of that. Okay. I'm going to also get rid of 2 of those rows because we only need 1 row example. And then we just need to import table here at the top. So like this. Then we can create a class here. I'm going to call this payment history. It's going to extend React component, render, and return. And we'll actually make it return that entire table here. So that there, we can bring in here. And then payment history, we can return like that. So then back in this class here, we'll have component did mount, and we'll call this dot handle fetch payments. Okay, then we can create that method here, handle fetch payments, which takes no arguments, and all we need is just an example of fetching data. So we can actually just grab that there. Okay, so we'll paste that there. It's going to be a GET request, which will fetch the payment list URL, which won't take any data. Then when we get a response, we can set, we'll say loading as false. We can say payments is going to be that response data. Get rid of the props callback. Then we can also set loading as false there as well. Okay, we can also call set state loading true in the beginning here. All right, so then in the state, we'll have payments. This is going to be an empty array. We can then bring payments into the render method, call it equal to this.state. Then inside the body, we're going to create a row for every entry. So we can say payments.map for each payment. And we're going to return a table row. We'll say the key is going to be payment.id. And then here we could have, let's say, ID. We could have amount, and we can have date. Then this will be p.id. This will be p.amount. And then here we could say new date of p. And let's just check what that field is on the payment, and it's the timestamp. Okay, so that's going to be p.timestamp, and we could say .to, let's say UTC string, like that. Okay, so if we come back and see how this is, go to payment history, and there we go. So we get those payments coming through. I'll just come here and add a $1 in front of the amount. So like this. Cool. So let's go to products. We'll go and add an item to the cart. And so pants doesn't have any variations, so let's rather go to shirt. And let's add something here. Click add. We can go into checkout. And pants, we're going to get an error there, so I'm going to remove that one. Let's say we add 2 more shirts, so we have that same one there. We hit checkout, and we'll go and add a billing address. So let's say, and just like this, make it default, hit save. Cool. Let's go back to checkout. Okay, we hit checkout. We have our default billing address and shipping address selected. We can add our credit card in and hit submit. Cool, payment was successful. So if we go to the profile, go to payment history, there we see it, 360, and there's the date coming through. So the payment history view is working. And just one thing to note is that this file is now just under 500 lines, which is crazy long. So even though we've broken it up into components, we'd most likely want to split this up into multiple files so that it's easier to manage, because right now it is getting into a mess. But we're going to leave it at this in this video. And this is probably going to be the last video for a while in this series. So if you'd like to see how to deploy a project of this kind, then you can head over to our website. There we show how to deploy Django projects on all of the major platforms such as Amazon, DigitalOcean, and Heroku. We also cover much more. So if you're interested in that, please do check it out. The link is in the description of this video. Otherwise, if you've enjoyed this series, leave a comment down below and let us know what you thought. And otherwise, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.